I think what we've seen with the rise of social media in the last, let's say, 3 to 5 years in particular, is at the same time society has become a lot more driven around authenticity. So at every level, not just in recruiting or trying to, say, find a job or something very practical, but in the whole expectation we have around communications. We're looking for stuff that's real. We don't want stuff that's prepackaged, that's wrapped in a veneer of what a company is trying to massage and tell us about. That's a lesson and a learning that marketers have really focused on the last few years, and so you've seen that whole wave of different communications and different techniques happen in marketing, which is a real revolution from where it was 5 years ago. But it's been very difficult for companies to take that same philosophy and really make it work from a recruiting perspective. And the employer branding component of branding is becoming increasingly different from what's happened in the rest of the marketing organization. So there's this huge gulf opening up that companies are really struggling to close between the authenticity that's happening in their business-to-business marketing or their attempts to gain consumers and the way they're portraying themselves externally as a place to work. And that's a gulf that everyone's really trying to find interesting ways to address. For the last 50 years, companies have spent all of their resources around ensuring that the truth doesn't get out, that they're controlling their message into the marketplace. And it's become a core tenet of the way you communicate in this outbound, pushing advertising sort of model. We know now that that's not the most effective way to market. In fact, the whole world of marketing has changed dramatically in the last 5 years to try to address that in a different way. What companies are finding is so challenging about addressing that is it's just not the way they're structured internally to handle. So there's a silo between, say, marketing and sales and marketing and HR, and even within each of those areas, within HR itself, between training, between recruiting, etc. So breaking down those internal silos is actually a fundamental part of what companies have to address if they're going to try to really communicate with authenticity and actually have a consistent brand proposition, whether or not it's considered employer branding or product branding or the personal branding of the employees within the company itself. In many companies, we're actually sitting on our biggest assets, and that's the employees themselves. We're so focused on trying to work out what potential future employees are looking for and to communicate with them effectively. We often ignore the resources and the great things that are within a company, and it's by empowering those people inside the company to feel empowered to actually go out and communicate with confidence that they're not going to get in trouble by telling the truth and actually talking about what they do with passion. That's one of the key things that smart companies are doing now, trying to really leverage the resources they do have, those internal stories within the company, and using that as the magnet to then attract new people into the organization. It's a key way that recruiting marketing is transitioning to really leverage the new way that marketing works.